Everyone, and welcome to the Monday night pregame show, the Monday night conversion. Anyone go for two this week? I can't remember. I guess. Sorry, Doc. We've got. There are some fantastic games this week. Some teams lost, some teams won. Obviously, was there a tie? There were no ties this week. There we go. Good for that. I mean, there's still two games tonight to preview, so we're just going to get right into it. I'm Kyle Senma, joined by my co-hosts. Gladys, how are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good. We've got 2-0 Dan down there.
Feeling it.
And Dr. James Peretti. How you doing, Doc?
Hey, guys. How are you? I'm doing better than Gabe Davis, that's for sure.
Yes, and we'll get right into it immediately. Gabe Davis is out, so ankle injury. So, Doc, I know this happened Saturday, so not even doesn't even look like at practice. So limited information, but always late game injuries are always kind of or late week injuries, right? We always say that those are the ones that spur up on a Friday last practice. Those are usually the bad sign. But what do we know about Davis so far?
Yeah, so apparently this was a non-contact injury, whatever happened with him with his ankle. And they don't have the doubtful designation anymore in the NFL. They used to have, probable, questionable, doubtful, and out, and they just kind of changed it to questionable. But the rumor is that he was always on the doubtful side of questionable for however much, strength you put into that. And then sure enough, he's out today. So we don't really know what the issue is with the ankle. We're just going to have to wait and see how practice goes this week. And, more information kind of drips out during the week. Are we dealing with a low ankle sprain? Are we dealing with a high ankle sprain? Is it something else? Sounds like it's not quite in Trey Lance territory, which we'll get to, because they pretty much ruled him out and he's out for the year right away. But, this could be something that costs him a week or two, if that, or it could be multiple weeks, and up. So we really just don't know much at this point, but we know he's out tonight. So that definitely affects how we look at the game, that's starting shortly. So we can kind of take it from there.
Well, just to the quick thought of, okay, so Gabe Davis out, who's the player that we think elevates, gets more targets, more catches, more production for the Bills tonight? Quick answers. Anyone want to take a shot?
Isaiah Mckenzie.
Okay. And any reasoning for him, say, over Jamison Crowder, for instance?
Because he has out-targeted him lately. In the whole there's one game. He out-targeted him the last game. He was had more snap counts, more snap counts than he did. And I think that he's just a better player than Crowder.
Do we think...
So for me, I think Dawson Knox, because I think on the seam, I think it just opens it up a little bit more going vertical. Also as a red zone presence. I think in terms of that, Gabe Davis with his physical stature, obviously he presents something a little bit different than most of the other receivers, Crowder and Mckenzie. They're not as big as what that guy is. Even Diggs is a solid lad, but he ain't as big as Gabe Davis. Dawson Knox might provide that other option. I think it also means good things for Josh Allen. They get close to that 10-yard line. I think that might be more for him in terms of carries and rushing it in himself. I think it could be a big deal. You're playing DFS, you're looking at alternate options. Maybe a Zach Moss could be a cheap throw in the way that they're playing as well. But I like the idea of Dawson Knox this week having a bigger week as opposed to what happened last week against the Rams.
Yeah,
Doc, what do you think?
Real quick, one guy to keep an eye on is Khalil Shakir. Who is inactive for week 1, but is going to be active tonight. So for those of you that play in shallower leagues or, that aren't really into dynasty and rookies and things like that, he's a really talented guy on a really good offense, and he may get a chance to flash tonight and show up on everybody's radar. So definitely somebody to keep an eye out for, see if he ends up doing anything.
Right. And I think, Dan, I like your reasoning behind Knox, the touchdown upside. I would also like to say, I think Jamison Crowder might be that guy. As the game went on, it seemed like they kind of used him more as the slot receiver. And to your credit, Gladys, I think one of the things that makes Mckenzie appealing is his versatile role. He might replace Davis as the outside receiver opposite Diggs. But that also means maybe more, like you were saying, he had more snaps than Crowder. But does this mean that Crowder gets all those more snaps in the slot? And seems like Josh Allen has, whether it was Beasley or whoever, between Mckenzie or Crowder, whoever was the slot receiver, seemed to get targets. I think the two of them combined for, I think it was 7 or 8 targets in the slot in game 1. So if that could all go to Crowder, that might be what elevates him. So he doesn't replace Davis's role, but his role increases. So so we all gave 4 different answers. So there we go. Some clarity for the people.
Good for the Bills. Either way.
Yeah. Discord Dam. So yeah, go look it up. There's the Going for 2 Discord. There's a few other things we'll plug in a sec, but we also talk about our game picks for again, the 2 Monday night games. We'll concentrate quickly on the Bills and Titans here. Per Twitter, the first 2 wide receivers in warm-up were Diggs and Kumaro. Take that for what it's worth. Jake Kumaro sighting. So who knows?
Yeah, no. I don't know.
But thanks, Yeti.
If he did anything.
I mean, to Dan's credit, Kumaro probably fits the body type more of Davis, bigger body, could be more of a red zone threat. So, but I kind of like Dan's answer of it. Probably just instead of going to Kumaro, probably just go to Dawson Knox. Gator J here as well. What is good? And I think what's good is the Bills offense, right? So, how many of us are taking the Bills as? Oh wait, I'll pull it up. Hang on, we've got the info here. So the higher lower prediction from Underdog is 48 points. And Dan, I think you're mentioning in the chat that it had gone down. I think both games were higher earlier in the week and have gone down. So down to 48 now with the Bills as 10-point favorites. So clearly saying the Bills are good, right?
Yeah, they're basically telling you people are taking the unders and they're just trying to get people to go over. So I still think under on this one pretty aggressively, to be honest with you. And if the Titans can't put points on the New York Giants, I don't think they're going to put them on the Bills. So, for me, I'll get straight to it, to what we are. I said the Bills minus 10 and the under. I went straight into it. So I'm not going to hide. I'm not going to hide what I have to say about that. The Titans are trash and the Bills are going to kill them.
I had the exact same answer.
Let me just pile onto that because that's my pick too. I like the Bills in the minus 10 and the under.
So Titans are garbage.
Yeah, so I think that the three of us are going with that.
Austin Hooper was their big recruit this year. God damn, they're in trouble.
I'm just going to scamper along here first, but Mr. Scampers is in the building, everyone.
Mr. Scampers.
And I guess Kumro's used more as a blocker. This is like how Alan Lazard would play more snaps than Devontae Adams for the Packers last year in games because he would be out there on run plays and Adams would sometimes come off on run plays. So that might be it, where Kumaro gets more snaps than Isaiah McKenzie and Crowder, but doesn't get the targets anyway. My reasoning
every team needs a Terrence Williams.
Well, if we could he block? I'm not sure. He just seems like great football.
He couldn't drive a Ferrari though.
Man, couldn't get out of bounds though. Right? That's the right guy I'm thinking of.
No, that's him. That's him.
Yeah, good old Terrence Williams. But looking at this line, 48. And Bills as 10-point favorites. That would put the Titans at their projection would be right around 19 points. And that's why I don't think the Titans live up to 19 points. So that would be my reasoning for the lower on the game total. And for that reason, also picking the Bills. Gladys, what about you?
Bills and the 10 points.
Okay. And then the higher, lower for the
higher, lower.
Higher. Was that Dan?
Oh my God.
I think that was clearly Doc. I wasn't looking at the screen. I
like how she wasn't looking and she couldn't tell. That means it's getting pretty good.
Yeah, it's working, right?
Pretty good, guys.
I'm higher.
All right, so you're the only one that's going higher, and is it just so much faith in the Bills that they could put up 48 on their own?
I think that they could actually. Yes.
Solid reasoning. We'll get into our props real quick. I guess there's 5 minutes before the game, so we actually have time to do this. So I guess I was the first one to fill it out, so I'll go first, I guess. There were 2 that really caught my eye, but Stefan Diggs at 72.5 receiving yards. I'm taking the higher there. And the reason is I looked up his numbers with the Bills so far. I think 61% of his games with the Bills, he's hit that. And a lot of these higher lower lines I find are always really close to 50-50. Like you won't get usually more than 45 to 55% on either side. So to go up to a 61% kind of rate for Diggs up to this point with the Bills offense, I felt this projection was super low from Underdog. So that was the first thing that really stood out to me. And then just on my own, naturally, that seems low for the number one receiver on a team that we think should be great. And no Gabe Davis, I think, should be higher. And then looking at the previous numbers, I thought, that was going to be my pick. So I rushed in there really quick and put that in there. So I'm going Diggs higher than 72.5 receiving yards. Who wants to go next?
I'll follow up on that real quick because I had the same thought. I didn't go as in depth with it as you did. I just thought, hey, Diggs is really good, and the number 2 wide receiver is going to be out, so I like him going over anyway, and now I like him even more. So Diggs and the over on the receiving yards, that's my pick as well.
Do you want to make that a little bit more enticing? Do you want to go Kyle Phillips plus 51.5 versus Stefan Diggs?
What happens if Phillips doesn't
I think Kyle
play?
Phillips had an injury coming into this week, or he was nursing something.
He's
so
there. He's in there.
No.
Okay.
No
Straight
sucker
Diggs.
bets here.
I'm not touching that.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like Diggs plus 51.
Yeah, no, I think I would smash that. All you need is 51 yards. I mean, if Phillips gets 0 and then
That's what I'm
Diggs
saying.
doesn't hit the 72,
You
that would
guys
almost
are-
make
You guys are
sense.
too
Yeah.
creative when it comes to this stuff. You like you're so smart.
Listen,
like you're,
one of
you're
us is
just
a-
smart enough to
listen,
be really dangerous.
listen,
you know?
listen,
like
listen.
you outwork.
One of
You
us-
work so hard and then you
Wait, wait,
outwork
wait,
yourself
wait.
out of the bet.
One of us
Diggs
is
over 72.5 yards. That's it.
one of us is a doctor in here. The rest of us aren't.
Well, I'm not,
So
I'm
we're
not a
spending
doctor
more
of
time-
statistics. I want one bet. That's the bet I want.
So we're gonna double down.
Like, we don't need
We're
to
gonna
get
double
into
down on
I don't know.
Diggs.
and-
Are you
and
sure only one of us is
statistics
a doctor?
over it.
Because
Like, that's
apparently
it.
Dr. Discord Dan.
Oh well,
That's
I
it.
can't go
Thing.
triple D. No. So
So
we're gonna
if Kyle
double down on
wants to
Diggs.
amend his bet, that'd be my guess. But I'm good with mine.
You know what? Just to be different, I like that. I'll do that.
right.
Diggs. So it's 51.5. You said.
51.5 versus Kyle Phillips. Kyle Phillips is a 51.5 yard head start. Unbelievable.
Okay, enjoy.
You want to bite on that, Kyle?
No, I think I'm just gonna stick with the 72.
Yeah, there you go.
That-
Exactly.
It
That's
seems
what
like
I
such a
thought.
safe
That's smart
line.
man. Smart man.
It's-
We got the Diggs double down. All right.
So
Tell us what you got.
I had Gibbs 72.5 receiving yards under.
Ooh.
Under. He gets a lot of targets, but he doesn't really get that many yards. He doesn't
And
accumulate that many
who's
yards.
the player?
Stefan, baby.
Oh,
Stefan Diggs.
If
She's
that's
taking the
case,
opposite of us.
I'm taking the under.
Wow.
Gladys, do you want Kyle
Okay.
Phillips then?
That's bold.
No,
Versus-
what?
no.
You need to stop. Stop. Just stop.
Please
No one's
don't ever
taking
mention
Kyle Phillips.
to us again.
Yeah, done. We're
I'm not
done.
mentioning his name again.
Okay.
Wait, do the Titans have other Thursday games? Will we mention them again later in the year? I don't
No,
see
he's
them on the
actually good.
schedule.
I
No,
like
so we're
Kyle
good. This is the last
Not today.
Titans game, so you're right. We don't have to
Oh,
mention
yeah,
Kyle
I
Phillips
like
ever
Kyle Phillips.
again.
Not today.
Go ahead, Dan.
I don't want to. Listen, I'm going to go to the rival section on Underdog. Promo code GF2, 100% matching deposit up to $100.
There you
I'm going to go Devin Singletary plus 43.5 versus Derrick Henry.
Ooh,
Nice.
plus 43.5.
I liked what. It's not so much that I'm not about what Henry did against the Giants. Forget that. I kind of liked Devin Singletary last week. I think he looked really good. So if we're talking rush yards, I kind of like Singletary versus Henry flat. 43.5 yards head start. And Derrick Henry last week, he struggled. And
Oh man, sacrilegious.
yeah, he
Against
struggled.
the-
Listen,
going against
he-
the king.
It's not just that. He struggled to only 82 yards off 21 attempts. So we're talking about all Devin Singletary has to do is hit his average of 50, and we're in. So I kind of like it. I feel like if you take away a little bit of Gabe Davis, maybe that opens up a little. Yeah, Gator gets it. Maybe that opens up a little bit more of Devin Singletary as we go. I kind of like the idea of him getting that work on the ground this week without Gabe Davis as well, just quietly. So 43.5 point head start. I kind of like it. And, obviously Derrick Henry, we know who he is. We know what he does, but this is why it's called gambling, right? So
I respect it. I think Derrick Henry's going to stomp a mud hole in that bet and walk it dry, but we'll see what happens.
I didn't need to hear that. All right.
So interesting though, because I looked up Derrick Henry's numbers. Because outside of Diggs, the one thing I really looked at was the Derrick Henry half a touchdown. Thinking of going higher on that, but I also looked in. Derrick Henry hasn't scored a touchdown since that Bills Titans game last year, in which he scored 3. So is that a good sign for him to that's how he breaks the scoreless streak? No Dontrell Hilliard as well to vulture touchdowns.
So as a group, do we think Henry over half a touchdown? Can we get?
No.
Can we? No.
Yeah, I don't like it either because I think the Bills
Whoa.
defense is really good, and I think that they're going to get behind and they're going to be throwing, and he's probably not going to be involved. So unless there's like a pass interference in the end zone and they're on the 1 or something, I really don't see it. It doesn't seem like a great game script for it to happen.
This
He's
is a better
the
Bills
king.
defense.
He can always score a touchdown, but I wouldn't want to. I don't like that better than I like some of the other ones.
the Bills defense is
For
better
the record,
than they
I
have
do like
been.
it better than any of the ones that had Kyle Phillips in them, though. So that for whatever that's worth.
Well, I think at this point, picking the lower on Kyle Phillips seems like the smart move, right? Like, would we not just take Kyle Phillips line and take the lower?
So
The easiest.
I
bet?
mean, maybe for you guys, but sometimes it's like something comes up and it's like I just want nothing to do with it. I don't feel a certain way about it. I just want to
He's
pretend
just
like
stomping on the people
exist.
tonight. Like,
No, let's add this. Let's get spicy. Let's add this as a group. Diggs plus minus 51.5 versus Kyle Phillips.
I like it.
I think let's do it. Let's absolutely
I'm not
trash
signing
the
off
rookie.
on that.
No. You're on it.
We aren't convinced that Diggs can get 51 more yards than Kyle Phillips.
I'm not convinced of anything.
With Phillips coming off the injury, questionable. Fair enough, but
I'm out.
Again, we've got our own picks. We'll talk a little bit of week one results a little bit later. But I guess
we can move on.
Well, yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, we can. Just all to say that Derrick Henry's last game against the Bills was pretty spectacular. 143 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he had 2 touchdowns the meeting before. So 5 touchdowns in the last 2 games. That it did make it quite tempting to go with that.
Game of last season, like the 6th game of last season.
Yeah,
the Bills have greatly improved since then. And I'm not even going to mention Von Miller, who I could, but I should.
Well, you kind of just did, which is the point is that as good as this Bills defense was last year, they have gotten better. So
yeah.
Is this accurate? Opening kick for a touchback, and number 23 for Tennessee is down. Who's number 23?
Is it Kyle Phillips?
Okay. All right. So we're gonna get to some injury analysis from the doc, but first we got some questions here. So thinking of trading Evans, Ertz, Curtis Samuel for Debo, Kittle, AJ Dillon. Have Murray, Mixon, JJ Evans, Higgins. Right. Ertz, Deontay, Breece Hall, Dobbins, Curtis Samuel, Kirk, and Stevenson. Too many Niners. I would say no, because I think you're getting the better players across the board. Like my thing is, I would love to make that trade. I would love to get Debo, Kittle, and AJ Dillon, but I'm not sure the other manager would give up any of those 3 pieces individually for the other side, let alone all 3 together. So if you could make it happen, Leonardo, definitely do that. I think.
Wait. Doc, Kittle, what about his injury? When will he come back?
Well, allegedly they said he was close to playing this week. I don't know how much I buy that until I see him back on the field or at least practicing. Yeah. You know, he had a grade 2 partial tear of his groin muscles, and it's been 2.5 weeks. So that can be up to over 4 weeks, can be in some cases up to 8 weeks of recovery. And the sooner he comes back, the more likely he is to re-aggravate it and then be out even longer. So, you still have to keep in mind that even if he was close to playing, you're still trading for damaged goods if you're trading for Kittle right now. And, that's definitely something that you need to take into account, because if he goes out again, it could be a month, it could be 2 months, he could potentially be out for the majority of the regular season.
Yeah, I don't like that trade for that reason. Debo and AJ Dillon for those guys, I wouldn't do it. I like his lineup.
So is it just too much of the risk of not getting, not having the tight end? Because I think part of this is what tight ends are available. Because I don't mind trading away Ertz and then having to go pick up another tight end if I think they're getting similar targets. I could get maybe similar production. Because knowing I assume this is Mike Evans.
I would say the same. I'll hit on that. I think with tight ends at the moment, there are a lot. I've been on these guys all off season. I've been hitting my head about these sorts of guys. Tyler Conklin at the Jets. He was always going to be a PPR play with either Wilson or Flacco. This guy's getting 8, 9, 10 targets a game. Hayden Hurst at the Bengals. This guy's also in PPR, getting you 8, 9, 10, 11 points per game. These dudes are alive. Gerald Everett, if this is a shallower league, Gerald Everett's probably still out there. He's walking backwards into touchdowns. He doesn't mean it. It's happening. Tight ends that are coming in later are there. If you have to stream, you can. Look, Cam Brake was out there a fair bit last night. He's probably still out there on your waiver wire too, because unless it's in a dynasty league where everyone kind of went berserk when Gronk retired, this is redraft. He's probably still out there. No one really would have drafted Cam Brake because they wouldn't know between him and Kyle Rudolph. There are a lot of tight ends that are out there sitting there, but I've been on Conklin everywhere. I think I've got him in nearly every league. He's the sort of guy that's going to walk into, and what he did with the Vikings last year. You can get a hold of a guy like that or Hayden Hurst. You look at the Bengals, they're always going to throw it, right? There are dudes out there that can fill a weekly role if you do happen to acquire Kittle and you need a spot. Ross Dwelly, he scored a touchdown last week?
Yeah.
With Garoppolo. Ross Dwelly's out there on your waiver wire. Like, those dudes are out there that can fill in week to week until Kittle's ready to go. So I don't hate it if it's like, if the concern is Ertz versus Kittle. I'd rather get that upside of Kittle, knowing that you know what you're probably going to get with him and Garoppolo going forward.
Yeah, I don't
rather
hate
have-
that analysis.
I'd rather have Ertz until DeAndre comes back. I think.
That's-
Oh.
Someone's down.
Something's
Yeah.
happening. Okay,
Devin
Carl
Singletary.
It's not Carl Phillips, is it? Should have got on that.
So I think, okay, but to answer Leonardo's question, is that too many Niners? That's
Sure.
not the reason we wouldn't do the trade, right? Like the hesitancy behind investing too heavily in the 49ers offense. I think, especially with Garoppolo at quarterback, it's probably better for the weapons than it would have been with Lance. So this is the time to where I'm less afraid to do it now than I maybe would have been if thinking Lance was going to be there the whole season. Might minimize, not so much for Debo, but certainly for Kittle, because we really haven't seen Lance with Kittle at all. To Dan's credit, Ty Conklin's currently 5th among tight ends in targets, and Hayden Hurst is tied for 7th with Zach Ertz, right? So you're essentially getting the same opportunity, and I think especially with Hurst, just as an explosive offense as the Cardinals have.
I don't want to say his name, but I think even Evan Ingram had like 8 targets yesterday.
Yep.
I hate saying that, but like
currently
it
tied
happened.
for 12th among tight ends in targets. So
Wild, right? So like
more targets than Kyle Pitts so far.
Was it Kylan Granson? Kylan Granson
Yep.
with the Colts. He had 7 as a week 1, I think. I don't know what he had yesterday. I can't remember.
2.
But like, so
yeah,
he's going to get
it
5
wasn't
a
very
game.
good yesterday, but yeah.
A game that was chased about 5 a game. You know, you can look at that and go,
It was
okay,
surprising to see him get so little, but
maybe.
he could
They're
still
there.
be.
The life of a tight end, right?
But it's funny because Conklin and Granson, I thought they both got 7 targets week 1, but then we saw Conklin just continue to do that. So I think, Conklin and Hurst to me seem like the 2 guys that are available to kind of make up for that. And Curtis Samuel has been producing well. So maybe I rubbed him off a little too initially of, Dylan over Samuel, because that is productive.
Top target getter for the Commanders 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
There you go.
So maybe, I think ultimately, just looking at this trade, who does everyone think is the best piece in the trade?
Debo. Because you know what happened last year with
Probably,
Garoppolo. You know that he was a top 4, top 5. Not that Evans can't.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're telling me that you can get Debo now without Kittle as well, I think that's a big deal. That sounds weird. It's like addition by subtraction, right? You know what you're going to get with Debo without Kittle. That's just more. So I don't hate it because Ertz, I don't know if anyone's watched the Cardinals play lately, but they're terrifying. So you throw back DeAndre Hopkins in, 4 weeks? Then what? To be honest with you. And look, Dylan's going to out-touch Aaron Jones in terms of carries. He might not get the yards like we saw last night. Aaron Jones had, 30 yards more, I think, maybe. But you know that he's good for 18 touches, 50, 60, 70 yards. If he gets a touchdown, you're going to get 14, 15 points. And you want that. From a running back, that's huge. That's huge to me. But even while Kittle is out, you're still going to get that massive work from Debo with Garoppolo because you know he's not going to rush. You know that Lance week 1, 13 rush attempts. Garoppolo ain't going to do that. They're going to go back to whatever they did last year with Garoppolo, with Kittle, with Debo, and I think that's a big deal.
I think I can summarize my thought process on all trades going forward, where it's like you don't really need any analysis. Leonardo, this is the way that I look at it, and this goes on your gut feeling. If it's not a hell yes, for me, it's a no. So if you look at this trade and you say hell yes, do it. If you're like, I'm not sure, I got to get into the weeds a little bit or whatever, like for me, too late. I'm out. I got like the 10-second rule. I look at it and I'm like, is this a hell yes? Or is it, if it's not, then it's a no for me. So this for me is not a hell yes, so it's a no.
All right, so Leonardo, take it as you will. But again, I think to answer the part of the too many Niners question, that would not be any of our reasons to not make the trade.
Yeah, and I
So
wouldn't care about that at all.
To Doc's credit, if you're thinking hell yes, but too many Niners, don't let that be the reason not to make it.
Yeah, don't let that dissuade you at all.
Absolutely.
All right, perfect. So again, a couple questions here. What are we buying Tua for? Or are we buying Tua now? What for?
Not now.
Exactly.
This seems like the absolute worst time too. Yeah.
Like
No.
that ship, if you weren't on the ship, it's out there now. It's sailed. So You missed the proverbial boat.
Can you give up Dak to get Tua straight up now, even, or is the Tua manager laughing at that? No, you have to throw me.
They probably wouldn't take it, right?
I mean, I'm assuming Dynasty as well too, but yeah, even both.
Which is funny. Who's the injured quarterback, Dak or Tua?
Dak.
Because that was always Tua, right? That was the problem everyone had.
Yeah.
Now it's Dak. Wild.
Well,
All right. So then the opposite question, right? If we're too scared to buy, what are we selling for then? If this
Nothing. I'm holding him.
Yeah,
It's week 2. I'm not getting rid of a quarterback without reason. We're talking about me and Kyle made a trade a week ago because of injuries, right?
Yeah.
But if it's just for no reason, it's week 2. If I have Tua doing that now, if he can pull off 300 yards and 2 to 3 touchdowns a week, I'm not moving him after week 2 because he's going to get you to the playoffs. That's what we're here for, right? Winning? Or is it just picks?
Not everybody. Not everybody. But Gladys, you play Dynasty, right? So if somebody on your team has a huge week, do you immediately look to sell, or are you like, hey, you know what? I drafted this guy for a reason. I'm going to ride him out.
Riding him out.
There we go. I'm with Gladys. A lot of the times I find that with Dynasty, people just want picks, and it's but it's week 2. We're trying to win. You put your deposit down.
Statistically, since you guys love statistics so much, apparently only 40% of people are trying to win.
Well, it's a 10-team league, and 6 people make the playoffs, so I get it.
Yeah, but not everybody's trying to win. Only statistically about 40 to 45% of people are trying to win at Dynasty. The other 55% are doing something else.
If I'm looking at a guy that's getting me 400 yards and 4 touchdowns a week with Waddle and Hill, I'm not so much trying to get rid of Tua. I'm trying to get Waddle and Hill. That's what I'd be doing.
Yeah.
I'm looking at trying to get something like that instead, because most people now are probably playing in Superflex 2 QB leagues. You're going to have to pay out the wahoo to get Tua now. After that, the last 2 weeks. Yeah. It's not going to happen. So you're better off going out, if you have Tua, to get the other guys around him, in my opinion.
So I guess the one thing I would say is, I think we could all agree on this, is not to pivot down from Tua. You don't want to diminish what you have at quarterback. Is this the best way, though, to go from Tua to a Lamar Jackson tier, Kyler Murray tier? Whereas before this game, that manager there wouldn't probably have been a price big enough to bridge that gap. But now suddenly with Tua, you can access that upper tier quarterback. So that'd be the only way I'd move off from him, is to get quarterbacks that I wouldn't have been able to get for Tua before, because I got him so much later in the draft. So that'd be the one caveat, and to say with a purpose. Right? I'm going out to get the elite tiers. I think that didn't necessarily outproduce him this week, but outproduce him most weeks. So it'd be the only guy, that'd be the direction moving to Tua. Now he's suddenly, maybe even in Dynasty, viewed as a top 12 quarterback. All it takes is 1 6-touchdown game, which is a pretty insane game, to be honest. So
yeah.
Now, I guess we haven't really had any sit questions on the show because we are so early in the week, but it's never too early to be thinking, right? So start Drake London or T. Higgins this week in the flex. I know I was someone who did not want to play Drake London the first 2 weeks, especially even after a good week 1. Oh, he might see Jalen Ramsey, and 2 solid weeks from Drake London, it's going to be tough to keep him out of lineups. I'm not sure Higgins is that guy that I want to take him out for. What does everyone think? Anyone have a thought on this?
Gladys.
I'm looking at the schedule. I want to see who's playing.
Yeah, looking at the schedule.
Okay.
Drake London's playing Seahawks in Seattle.
Okay.
And T. Higgins is playing the Jets in New York. 45 over and under in that game, and 41 in the other game. I would not sit. I would play T. Higgins in the flex.
I concur.
With that Jets offense, that's going to be a shootout for sure. So yeah, definitely Higgins.
300-yard Flacco, week 1, week 2. Come on.
He has the most, doesn't he have, he has 102 pass attempts through 2 weeks.
He's averaging 300 yards a game. It's wild.
Gator's also saying Higgins, so it's pretty unanimous. Now, PJ, who did ask the question, is saying he's feel like Drake getting more targets though.
Yeah, you're gonna ride the sine wave, he's up, he's down, whatever. T. Higgins is the more consistent player, so that's why I would start him. Is I feel like he's got a high floor and he's got a high ceiling. With Drake London, he's got a high ceiling, but he's got a low floor.
Richie Gillum is the guy who just scored for Buffalo.
The fullback, right?
Who had Richie Gillum over
that
0.5 touchdown.
Currently Richie Gillum better than Kyle Phillips. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm not sure I necessarily agree with Doc on the Drake not having a high, as low. I think the floor might even be better for Drake. Just if he's I don't know. There might be weeks where the Bengals could go away from Higgins. There have other options where it seems like Atlanta, their offense, even with Kyle Pitts there, it seems like Drake London is drawing targets. But I think the ceiling does belong to Higgins. Just being part of that Bengals offense could be the big explosive multi-touchdown week. So I'd almost see it as the opposite. But yeah, chasing upside, I think I'd still chase Higgins.
Kyle Pitts involved, and Drake London gets 3 targets because now that he's getting double and triple covered, we'll see how that goes. I mean, it's not like you said, they don't have a lot of other options. So they're going to have to start rolling coverage over to him at some point, and then, things are going to evolve. So I don't think he's going to get as many targets as he's gotten, and everybody else is just going to stop paying attention to him. Like, he's a rookie. They don't really have a book on him. They're getting a book on him. He's going to have to adjust. So we'll see, but we'll see who's right. You could be right.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yes, we will find out. But yeah, I think we're still all saying Higgins, though, I think is still the guy we want to start going into week 3.
Yes.
So Doc, we want to talk some injuries now. Week 3 starts with the Thursday night game, so kind of a good place to start there. We talked about Najee Harris last week. I think we were all maybe a little surprised that he played this week. Seems like the Steelers are just going to grind through. So I don't know if there's much to add to it other than it does kind of seem like a ticking time bomb, doesn't it?
Yeah, I would just say do your due diligence and make sure that that his backup Warren isn't just hanging out there on waivers, because this time bomb could go boom at any time. But he's looked good. He's gotten the volume. You just don't want to get caught with your proverbial pants down if this thing crops up again, which it very well could at any point. So you just have to really be vigilant about it and just do your due diligence and make sure that his backup, somebody didn't drop him or something like that.
I kind of disagree. I don't think he's looked good. He hasn't averaged more than like 3.5 yards per carry. And it's not the offensive line. He just isn't performing well. And
I think it's definitely affecting him. But I mean, it could go from him being out there and being inefficient to him not being out there, and then somebody else gets the opportunity.
I wouldn't play him on a Thursday night game, and I have him in 3 different leagues. I'm not playing him.
Genuinely asking, because we have a Steelers fan here. Is that a Steelers thing at the moment that they're not moving the ball as well as you think they should, or do you think he just hasn't really turned the corner yet?
I think the offense is extremely inefficient right now. It's the quarterback or the offensive line. I think Najee Harris is inefficient, and he can't blame the offensive line. They're just not efficient right now.
They've had 2 awkward games, to be fair. I think they've been awkward opposition. Like, I don't think anyone saw what was going on with I didn't see what was going to happen with that Bengals game. That was outrageous.
Yeah,
what they did to Cincy was outrageous. But then you get the Patriots this week, and but the Patriots also made that Miami game very awkward for Tua and Hill. Tyreek Hill stole a ball from a cornerback to run that one in. That was an intercept for me. That was done. Like, Tua kind of got lucky in regards to that with Hill. So it's not. I don't think the Steelers have looked that bad. I think they've just played 2 very awkward games. The Browns, you've seen them with Carolina, and now who they play this week again? I forget. It was at the Jets. I think at least the Browns will embrace a game that will open up a bit. Does that make sense?
No. Doc, Jacoby Brissette, is he injured still?
Jacoby Brissette, I haven't heard anything about him being injured. What
he heard ankle, I think, an ankle injury last game. I think he played through it, but I think he has an ankle injury. So I don't know on a quick turnaround he's going to play.
No, I guess he's all right. Like, I don't think it's anything that's going to hamper him, any further. Okay. It looks like he's doing okay. I mean,
all right.
And I think back to his year with the Colts. He missed time mid-season with an MCL sprain of some sort, and then he only missed, I think, like 2 or 3 weeks and came back. But he also didn't look good. He looked worse coming back than what he did before the injury, so it did seem to affect him.
Okay,
we'll see if this isn't a knee ligament, so maybe he's able to throw through it better. Like you said, he seemed to play through it, and he didn't have to miss 2 weeks with it. We'll find out, I guess.
Who's their backup?
Yeah, I mean, he may show up on the injured.
Isn't it Josh Rosen?
Nick Mullins. I think it's Nick Mullins.
Oh no, it's Kellen Mond.
Okay,
they picked up Kellen Mond off waivers, right?
Are you sure it's not Nick Mullins?
I'm
certain it's Nick Mullins.
I thought Nick Mullins was the Raiders' backup. Or no, that's Stidham.
I don't even
man.
know anymore.
This is so bad. Yeah, Brown's depth chart. We'll have to look that in.
I'll do that now. I got you. You keep posting. I got you back.
Well, so we talked about this upcoming Thursday with the Steelers, but let's go back to last Thursday.
I got Joshua Dobbs as the backup.
Oof.
Oh, really?
Kellen Mond is the number 3.
It is. They have Dobbs. Oh my God, no.
I love Joshua Dobbs.
Imagine that, a revenge game against the Steelers on Thursday night if he has to start.
Nah.
It's funny, Dan, because you talked about the trade we made. Trade gave you 2 seconds for Carson Wentz in a dynasty league. The cost for Jacoby Brissette was a second and like a little less than a second, like Jacoby and a third for a second type thing. But I'd rather just give up the 2 seconds for Wentz. And so, I mean, he didn't look good in the first half, but the stats look good for the full game. So happy I made that move.
Well, I'm happy for you, Kyle, who I'm now without. Now without Wentz and Trey. I'm very happy for you.
Got offered another Mike Evans Kittle trade. Evans Kittle.
By the way, while I have you two on the phone right now, Doc Gladys, I need a quarterback. If you guys want to move one,
you know the number, big boy.
I know.
So, by the way, for everybody out there, we got a great Discord community out there. We have a whole Discord area that is devoted to just trades. So it's like, if you are not in the Discord and you got trade questions, get yourself in the Discord. Don't, what are you doing with your life, man? Like, get in there. You got over 40 analysts and coaches in there to help you out. People that are they live to chip in and give you information and go deep down the rabbit hole with some of these things. And really help you out. So get in the Discord, get in the trade section, and fire off all your trade requests. Give them as much detail as you want. They love it. So
going for 2 Discord is free. There's an injury. Doc has his own injury channel as well, so you can ask. Sorry, Gladys, go ahead.
I would do that trade. Like,
okay,
in a second. Why wouldn't you? Kamar's hurt. A-Rob is an afterthought. Elijah Moore is being upstanding.
It's a little.
Oh
harsh.
my God! I would take that in a heartbeat.
It's a little
harsh.
Yeah.
You're talking about Kamara's going to listen. This is dynasty. Kamara getting suspended in a year. That's coming.
Is this?
And he's going to be
dynasty though?
Kamara going to be 28 with a 6-game suspension.
It's a PPR.
If it's dynasty, Kamara going to be 28 with a 6-game suspension as a running back. I want no part of that.
Even if it's not dynasty, I would take it. What's a little harsh?
Yeah,
A-Rob's an afterthought.
Sure. Evans over A-Rob. Kittle over Moore. And you're talking about ETN versus Kamara. Okay, Kamara crushes ETN, but like I'd take
it in a heartbeat.
Oh,
do it, Greg.
There you go.
It's funny because
Gladys says it's a hell yes. So
the hell yes.
Okay, Greg.
It's redraft. It's redraft.
Yeah, Greg confirming to us that it is a redraft league, which makes me think Kamara, I think, is still the most valuable piece in this trade.
Yeah.
And it's funny that Doc mentioned coaches, which is what we call our people at Going for Two that help out and stuff. But I was watching the Fantasy Coaches live stream, and Greg was in there, and he asked this question too. And when he first popped up, my thought was Kamara is the best piece. It's almost like the last trade of Debo's the best piece. That's where I gravitated towards.
This is redraft.
Yeah,
Kamara's the guy you want. But I don't hate the idea of getting like the Jags. ETN's going to get involved. I don't mind the idea of Evans. He's going to get his. A-Rob could be streaky. So I don't hate it. You're talking about getting Evans and Kittle?
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, look, Austin Hooper. Good for you. Not falling over. What a true. Listen, the top recruit, Austin Hooper, getting his 12 yards a game off 1 reception. Very good. Happy for
Hooper the trooper.
More trade talk. I guess this is the Discord for trade with Discord Dan here.
I'm gonna put a cap on the trade talk.
Let's get into
the rest of this show. We got a whole Discord there. We're not encouraging people to go to the Discord if we keep doing the trade requests on the show.
I don't go to Discord. I'm sorry.
This one's interesting though because I think Justin Jefferson for Jonathan Taylor trade is quite.
Ooh,
man,
is it a PPR too?
Yeah, I think if this is redraft, I'd probably stick with Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know about Etienne. Like, it really seems like he's the backup. Like, this is James Robinson's team, and Etienne's. I don't know.
Doc, what's Keenan Allen's status?
Hamstring injury. Still, we got to see him out there. He could still miss another week or two. So that's where we're at. Could play this week, but couldn't still miss another week or two.
Would you play him this week if he played?
Yeah. With
the hamstring? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I got
All
it.
right. Well, perfect transition into the injury talk. So I guess next on the list, well, we can talk about that, something that came from that Thursday night game. I guess Kamara is dealing with this as well, Justin Herbert, and now apparently Jerry Jeudy, rib injuries. So
wild.
Yeah, so this one evolved a little bit because first it was a shoulder, then it was the ribs, and now they're saying sternum, chest sternum area. So I think that if I had to hazard a guess, I think it's a little from column A and a little from column B. I think it's probably the cartilage that runs along the sternum because that's where the rib cartilage attaches to the front of the chest wall. So this is going to come up a couple of times on the show. We got a couple of guys dealing with rib injuries. Different positions. It's unclear whether it's broken ribs or torn cartilage, but I think it's probably torn cartilage at this point. If I had to hazard a guess, these could be really painful and they could be really slow to heal because with a bone break, pretty standard. You break a bone, takes 3 to 4 weeks for it to heal. 6 weeks for completion. That's pretty standard. With cartilage, all the healing factors and the blood flow to cartilage is not as good as it is to bone. So everything that kind of helps the tissue heal doesn't get in there so well. And just on a personal note, I actually separated three ribs, the cartilage in 3 ribs, kind of in the same place that they think Jerry Jeudy did. And that was about 12 months ago. And ask me when it stops hurting, because when it does, I'll let you know. I still feel it. Now, granted, I'm a lot older and not as good a shape as Jerry Jeudy, but the point is that they can linger, and this could definitely be a problem. There is also still the possibility that other structures are involved: his lungs, other organs, the nerves. Like, we haven't gotten all the details here, so I'm definitely more concerned about this than I am about some of the other rib injuries, just because of the fact that it keeps evolving and more information keeps dripping out, but they haven't really given us the detail of what exactly is going on. Sharks don't have
too bad
bones.
this isn't
Only
DJ Shark.
So I learned something today.
Because it would apply, but apparently sharks don't have bones, only cartilage. So this wouldn't affect DJ Shark, but Jerry Jeudy, I don't think it is a shark, so it doesn't apply here.
I think he was talking about Doc. I'm reading. I think him and Doc have this thing going on. Whoever sneaky said this.
I actually didn't know that. So now I learned something.
You're a shark, Doc. I mean, if you look at our underdog results a little later, maybe that's true.
That is true.
Son, what do they say about a stop clock being right twice a day? So possible replacements for Jerry Jeudy, because I think this could be a couple of weeks at least. We'll see, but I'm definitely concerned he's going to miss some time. KJ Hamler, if he can make his way back from his own knee and hip issues, he missed week 2, but next man up in the NFL, it might be his time to shine. And maybe if you want to throw a dart, Kendall Hinton, he got some play. I don't know how interested people are going to be in that, but I'm definitely interested in KJ Hamler.
And then if you really want to go deep, there's the rookie Montrell Washington as well.
Montrell Washington, yeah.
Didn't he get some snaps last week? He got some snaps.
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
They kept Washington over Hinton. So Hinton, essentially, when they made their cuts, Hinton got cut, and they kept Washington.
Yeah.
So
Hinton got
he's
pulled up
definitely
from the practice squad.
Yeah.
He's definitely interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, and just to continue on this trade, to talk about Michael Thomas, because I think that's a part of this trade too, is like the health of Michael Thomas. And Gators ask you the same thing. So Michael Thomas looks to be healthy? Question mark, which I guess is part of the Michael Thomas, right? Question marks injury. So what have you seen through 2 weeks, Doc, of Michael Thomas?
It looks good to me. It's like football's a dangerous sport. You got to live in the here and now. But I mean, he's out there, he's producing, and even at times when the Saints haven't looked good, he's produced. So, I think that works for me.
And I noticed, I know you mentioned the Hamler injury. What were they again? Sorry.
Yeah. So Hamler was recovering from an ACL tear last year and was still in the process of kind of recovering a la, Michael Gallup style. And he then kind of popped up with like some hip pain or a hip issue. So they held him out this week, but they didn't really need him. Now they may. So it may be all systems go for KJ Hamler and time to get out there.
That's a good point, Dan. You want to share your thought with the people?
No. Go to discord.com. Going for 2. And if you want to know what my thoughts are about Michael Thomas being hurt, hashtag Discord Dan. Find me there and I'll give you my honest assessment.
Derrick Henry just scored a touchdown.
Hey, he's over. There we go.
Yeah, he's over.
The king lives.
And he scored it just like you said he would. They got like to the 5-yard line or 4-yard line, and then he went in.
Should have taken that one instead of the Diggs yards. I mean, Diggs might still get those yards, but
at least you're digging a hole for yourself there, Kyle.
No, good job. So I think Jack and his league mate potentially King Showtime, because it seems like these trades seem oddly suspicious or familiar. I would say, does anyone think that there's like a lopsided aspect to either side? Because I think it's pretty fair. Like
it looks okay. I mean, that was kind of my sense of like, yeah, all right, sure.
Which elite asset do you want? Justin Jefferson or Jonathan Taylor? It seems like pick your lane on that, and can't go wrong with either.
Yeah, right.
Except the Colts look like shit.
I like the idea of
the Colts.
They did last year too, though, and Jonathan Taylor was great.
I like the idea of getting Jefferson and Bateman.
Yeah, I do too.
Personally,
and
because
PPR.
And I have zero problem with Thomas and Keenan Allen. Believe me, I have no problem. But that upside difference between Jefferson and Bateman versus Thomas and Allen, I feel like Allen's going to get you 60 yards a game, and Thomas is going to say Keenan Allen gets you 7 for 70, 14 points. You're hoping on touchdowns. That's where you're at. Thomas may be the same. You look at Jefferson; he go for 28 every week. Like Justin Jefferson, he's. We're talking about Jonathan Taylor relying on like things working for him. Justin Jefferson needs that one reception, and it's over. And we're going to see that again tonight against Philly, I think. Just saying. I like what Philly have done. Believe me, I've said that numerous times. But Justin Jefferson's a different animal.
Yep,
he is. And ETN can have. I feel like ETN can have a Jonathan Taylor type game if it falls in his way. I don't think the other two receivers can do what Jefferson does, and that's saying something.
Okay,
Jefferson different. He's different. That's it for me.
Fair enough. So I think that the consensus on this panel seems to be the Jefferson side.
Yeah.
Again, I love JT so much I might lean that side. I'm also probably an ATN hater, so maybe that skews my vision a little bit. But I think it's fair enough either side that I wouldn't like. Yeah. It'd be tough to say either side is a loss because you're getting really good players on either side. So
I think that's the bottom line. I think there's this sense of like it needs to be a binary thing. Like if somebody's winning, then the other one's losing. It's like you can have trades where both sides win. It's like I actually like both sides of the trade. I think it's a win for both sides. So you're good either way.
Because even if you're giving up Jefferson, if the side really needed running backs and like you know, relying on Etienne, Jonathan Taylor gives you that solid running back and perhaps can replace that wide receiver. So word came out today that Gallup should play in week 3 is what Gator's saying. So Doc, have you heard that?
Yeah, it looks like he's trending in that way. Although I don't know about the Cowboys. I don't know whether they've been studying at the Pete Carroll School of Medicine in the offseason because they also said that Dak Prescott might play next week too, and he's got a broken thumb and he had surgery 10 minutes ago. So I don't know. So what I will say is when he's practicing and when he's out there, I'm going to play him. But until then, I don't know.
You really don't like playing the players who don't practice all week and then we'll bring them in active because if that's saying they're not really sure. Like if he at least practices all week, there's more certainty when they play. So that's something where
I think it's more of an indicator of how things are coming along. Like because we saw this with Kamara. Like he initially practiced on Wednesday and then he missed Thursday and Friday and then he was out. So it's like that's trending in the wrong direction. So what I typically like to see is if a guy who's coming back from an injury, if he's able to fully practice, that's a good sign, especially if it's multiple days. And if he's able to continue in an upward progression, if he starts limited and then he graduates to full practices and he's off the injury report, then that's good. If he starts with full practices and then he's limited practices, then it's like, I don't know. But if he starts practicing and then he's not practicing at the end of the week, that's typically a bad sign. So that's kind of the way that I think about it. But the practice reports in that way are a good indicator. Like, is he out there and able to do what he needs to do in order to be able to play in the game and be productive?
Like you're saying, you're always going off what's the information they give you, and practice reports are information that teams are giving. So you utilize that information that's there.
Absolutely.
So Gladys was the one that went lower on Diggs, and that was at 72.5 receiving yards, whereas Doc and I both selected higher. So we'll see how that goes.
But they just said that Trey Lance had 2 injuries. He fractured his ankle and tore all his ligaments. The surgery said. So he's not playing anymore this year, is he?
Doc?
Yeah,
Nope.
Trey Lance is out for the year. So fracture dislocation and ligament damage associated with the injury. So he got surgery today. It looks like the surgery was a success. The good news, if there is any, is in contrast to Dak Prescott's injury, which was kind of similar. This was a closed fracture, as opposed to Dak Prescott's injury, which was an open fracture. So if you're squeamish, cover your ears.
Yeah, too late.
With an open fracture, the bone actually will go through the skin, puncture the skin, and that makes it a little bit more complicated as far as the surgical repair. So this was all contained internally. So they were able to repair it. And I don't think this is going to hamper him going forward. I think he's out for the year. But for those in Dynasty, so in redraft leagues, obviously he's droppable. In Dynasty leagues, I really think he's going to be just fine. The really interesting thing is now the Jimmy G situation, Jimmy Garoppolo, this really kind of clouds his future in the sense that what's going to happen with him in San Francisco, and does this make it more likely that he ends up with a starting opportunity next year if he plays well and ultimately doesn't stay in San Francisco? I think that's very interesting. So his value is maybe the one that actually gets a bump. I think Trey Lance kind of stays the same even with this injury.
I might prefer, I had Lance ahead of Trevor Lawrence, ahead of Deshaun Watson in Dynasty. Those are probably two guys that, Deshaun's going to come back to the field before Lance does, and Lawrence is playing right now. I think I'd maybe move Lance down to, he's probably just outside the top 12 now. It's still in the top 15. I wouldn't drop him any lower than that.
Yeah, and it may be a buying opportunity for people that really believe and they're maybe not playing for this year.
Well, I had a league where I have Trevor Lawrence. I sent Lawrence in a fourth for Lance in a second, see if they'll bite on that, and if they're desperate for a quarterback.
You got to look at it
the wheels are always turning up there with Kyle.
There's always a league where I can make a move, right?
Listen, I think the other side of it is the problem is Garoppolo's not there at the end of the year, right?
Unless he wins the Super Bowl, but even then, it's just someone else
that last
year
and
so much.
Yeah.
Listen.
When he got eliminated, and here he is.
They got to get past the 2-0 Giants first, right? So there's the problem that is Fred have. All right. So there's the first problem he's got. But other than that, I don't think they can't tag him, right? Because they redid his deal. So he's a free guy at the end of the year. He's not going to want to stick around.
I would imagine not.
He's out. But, there's going to be enough quarterbacks on the carousel next year for him to go and get a starting gig somewhere, for him to want to sit about.
Sure.
Tom Brady's out of there. Tampa, go. Get out.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that just be amazing?
It would, but it's there. Atlanta, I'm not sold on Ridder or Mariota. You've got Pitts and Ridley coming back, and you've got London. Go. There's places you can go that are going to. I think he's the buying opportunity. You just got to sit and wait now. He's the guy you want to go get because he's going to play the rest of the year, and he's going to be a free agent next year. He's not going to go anywhere where he's the backup. So for me,
if he plays well, I think it only increases his chances he's going to start next year. People are kind of lukewarm on him. It's like they didn't want to take him on, and now I think that could change.
We're going to watch. You don't think he can walk into Carolina?
Do I? Absolutely, I do. But it's not about me. It's about market perception.
Well,
if they have to choose between keeping Baker and keeping Garoppolo, and they'll be they're not tied to Baker, right? So that's literally one where both are technically free agents. You could choose whichever quarterback you want to give the contract to, right? Right now, they did lose to the Giants, so we'll give the Panthers credits there, but they're 0-2, right? So when you lose to a powerhouse like the Giants, maybe you forgive them a little bit. But
Kyle, are we the only ones that don't? Do you have the game on, Kyle? Am I the only one that doesn't have the game on?
No,
I think you are.
I'm focused right on you guys.
Bumbo, baby. Josh Allen. I can multitask, all right?
Yeah, all right. I can hear you.
How good's Kevin Byard as well? Just quietly, so good.
Yeah.
He was a first-team All-Pro safety last year.
Right? You guys be sure to let me know.
All right.
And Gator thinks Tampa would definitely welcome in.
For sure.
You're right. I think he probably should be starting next year. It seems like that'd be
if he's the top quarterback free agent at the end of the year, he's the first one that goes. It's that easy for me.
Yeah. He won't be the top one though. Lamar won't be the top one.
No, he's not going anywhere.
Oh, you think they're gonna let him go?
Stop!
I I think
They're going to tag him. They're going to tag him.
They're
going
gonna
to
tag
tag
him.
him.
tag
They're going to tag him
He's
so
not
Even
hard.
crazier than that, would they to not
He's not
risk
gonna
him?
sign that tag.
Does some team pony up some trade offer that Baltimore can't refuse, and that team
Can't
gives him the
imagine that would
contract?
happen.
No,
They
they ain't
would
letting
go
him go.
ballistic.
I don't even think it's going to get to the tag. They'll pay him his money.
They have to.
Yeah, they'll pay him.
They'll pay him. It'll just be.
Or
once
he'll
the
go to
season's over,
Steelers.
I think that'll get done pretty quickly in February. So just talking about Trey Lance, not the only ankle injury suffered this week, a couple of running backs. So his own teammate, Tyrion Davis-Price, who seemed like he was kind of getting some advanced opportunities in that 49ers backfield, but 2 weeks in a row, there's an injury to the lead 49ers backs. Shocker there. And then James Conner as well. So any difference between the two running backs in terms of the severity of the injury and the expectancy, Doc?
Yeah. So let's start with James Conner, and you guys are going to play along here because we've been doing this for a couple of years now. So I think you know how to read the tea leaves.
He froze.
Frozen.
Just like
Doc
James
is
Conner's ankle.
frozen.
Wow.
Oh, I froze. Jeez.
Yeah.
You're back, Doc. Don't worry.
Jesus. Okay. So what was the last thing you heard?
Nothing. We're going to play a little game here. So
Okay,
right
so
from
we're
the
going to
start.
play a little game here. Boom. So early reports with James Conner not dealing with a severe injury, which sounds like code for not a high ankle sprain. Still, even a low ankle sprain could be mild, moderate, or severe, and it could cost him anywhere from a week or less to 4 weeks or more. So we just need to watch the practice reports on him and be on the lookout for updates, possible replacements. Eno Benjamin and Darrell Williams, they both look good. It looked like kind of a 50-50-ish split. So I guess with you guys, like any thoughts or preferences here? I kind of like both of them. I'm kind of agnostic on it. I don't have a strong feeling, but does either any of you guys have a strong feeling here?
No, it was an even split. I have a strong feeling because I have Benjamin in like 3 leagues. But if I'm going to be extremely impartial, I think that with that backfield, it's hard to tell. With Kyler Murray running around like that, I don't know. I don't know if I pick up either one of them or if I.
Well, there's always the chance that if you pick up one, that the other one gets hurt, and then you really might have something. So I think it's worth taking a stab at one of them if one of them is available. Benjamin this week, 8 carries, 31 yards, 3 catches on 4 targets, 20 yards. That's pretty good. Darrell Williams got 8 carries for 51 yards, 2 catches for 3 yards, and he got the touchdown. So I think it could be either or, but there's always the risk that the other guy gets hurt, and then you got potentially like a high RB2 or maybe even a low RB1 if everybody else is out.
I tend to, I think we've been over this before, when there's a running back injury, I tend to pivot to the receivers because I never always believe that the backup running back is going to come in and do exactly what the other – I mean, there's a chance that they can get the work, but it doesn't always resonate. So I tend to lean on the receivers.
Okay.
We're talking about 13 targets, 11 receptions, 100 yards, and a touchdown for Greg Dortch over the past 2 games. We're talking 13 points and 18 points. And
he's doing his best Christian Kirk impersonation.
He is, and we're talking about
like nowhere.
Right, but like even if Hopkins comes back, I think he's done enough to hold down a role. So like if Greg Dortch is out there, and you know that Connor's probably going to be back in a week or 2, even if you missed 1 week,
maybe
not, and Connor's probably going to play through this. If something were to happen and you pick up Engine, you drop Fab on him, and nothing happens, then you've dropped Fab on something that's not going to happen. You've got Dortch that's sitting there getting work. That's going to continually happen until Hopkins comes back, at least. Because Rondell Moore's done nothing.
I guess the issue is, positional
TJ Green's not looking great either.
Dortch is great, but he doesn't play running back. So if you need a running back, sometimes you got to pick up a running back.
Rondell Moore 2 weeks in a row not playing. So the work is leaning towards Dortch in that offense. If we're talking about the Cardinals offense as a whole, it's going towards Dortch no matter what. So we can say, okay, Benjamin, but if you have Connor, then you're playing with fool's gold at the moment. It doesn't really matter.
I disagree because it's binary again. It doesn't have to be binary. You can like them both. I have to like one and not the other.
No, I agree with that too. But I'm just saying, if you know that Connor's going to get the Q tag probably, and you're going to drop money on Benjamin probably, but Connor plays, like you're left with.
Well, that is the risk. But Dortch doesn't play running back, so if you need a running back, you got to find someone.
Well,
I'm going to assume someone's got someone on the bench.
If you plan to put money on either running back, either Benjamin or Darrell Williams, check to see if Dortch is there and put a bid on him as well, and then you might be able to get 2 pieces of the offense on your team.
I think Benjamin's the guy out of Him and Williams. That's just me because I know he's got
Seems
the
like
pass
that's
catching.
what
He's got
Gladys
the
said
receiving ability. We've seen it now. But
Doc, any thought between the two?
No, I mean, they both impressed me. To be honest with you, I was more on Darrell Williams in the preseason, but like I said, now I'm agnostic. I would take either one and I'll take my chances and we'll just kind of see what happens. But, you know, you guys know the way that I play. It's like, I feel like you got to be ahead of the market. Yeah. You got to be ahead of the market. And when all the stars are aligning, it's too late. Somebody else already picked them up. And if you're in a league with me, it's probably me 2 weeks ago. So that's the way it is. Like, you got to be ahead of the market. And if it doesn't work out, you drop the guy and you move on. But sometimes you get lucky.
I will say I think it's Darrell Williams simply because he got the touchdown, and he's got last year with the Chiefs had a history of being that goal line back, high touchdown upside. This Cardinals offense, whoever they've put in and made the lead designated goal line back, has scored touchdowns. This will be 4 years in a row now because even last week against the Chiefs
a year ago, Chase Edmonds was getting touchdowns too.
It was Kenyon Drake when there was a 2-year stretch where they traded for Drake mid-season, and in 8 games he had 8 touchdowns, and then the next year I think he had like 10 or 11 touchdowns. And so and then we saw what Connor did last year, smashed that out of the water, almost got 20. I think he had 18 touchdowns. It seems like Darrell Williams, that guy they're going to trust as that goal line back. So I think the high ceiling touchdown upside is with Darrell Williams, but to Gladys and Dan's credit, Benjamin as a pass catcher probably gives a safer floor, certainly in PPR league. So it also depends what you're looking for in terms of your running back.
Oh, they're starting them both at the same time. Well, we better.
I thought it was a half hour from now, to be honest.
Oh, I just went to the channel now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think they're starting them both, like one a little bit after the other. So
yeah, but I thought we saw it a half hour before the Eagles game.
Oh, 8:30. Okay, we're good. This new NFL app sucks. Have you got that upgrade? It sucks.
Made me nervous. I'm like, geez. Like...
No, I'm here. It's like it just keeps trying to push this NFL Plus garbage.
Well, because I wanted to say there is one more injury of significance to talk about here.
Right, so you guys are still playing. So another ankle injury. So Tyrion Davis-Price. So this one is a high ankle sprain. So what do we think about that, gang?
Not coming back.
Not Elijah Mitchell's probably going to come back sooner than him.
He
right?
might.
Exactly.
He might. Like they might come back around the same time. He might actually beat TDP back. So it's like the field is continuing to narrow. So now we're left with Jeff Wilson, Jordan Mason, and Marlon Mack is on the practice squad. He could end up being the last man standing in this backfield the way things are going. By week 5, he could be the only running back
Michael Hasty
on the roster.
Oh my God!
Sorry, Doc.
Go lay down.
I love it. It's great. Good.
Right,
they let the healthy Trey Sermon go. They let the healthy JaMychal Hasty go. They're fine. Everyone they keep.
Wow.
Nothing.
Well, I mean, again, getting Marlon Mack though too is.
In fairness, they had 5 and now 2 are down and they got 3.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming. It's coming.
It's coming. You're right. It's coming.
Lance is down too. It's coming. It's
coming.
Anything else to talk about the 49ers?
No. So that was it. That was it for the running back ankle injuries. Let's talk ribs. So Justin Herbert, for all you guys that watched the game, they said that that it's likely that he broke his ribs on that play, and then he stayed in, gutted it out, threw a touchdown. Turns out that it's not actually a fractured rib; it's a break in the cartilage. In other words, it's a tear in the cartilage, not too dissimilar to what we were talking about earlier with
Jerry
Jeudy. Thank you. So same deal. Can have longer and more unpredictable healing times than a broken rib. My guess is I think he's going to be able to play through this. I don't necessarily expect decreased performance from him throwing wise. He may run less. And there is always the increased risk of re-injury or him leaving the game early if the Chargers are either up big or down big, more likely up big. They could take him out. So there is that risk, but remains to be seen how they're going to play it. But I wouldn't necessarily think that he's not going to be able to play through this and that it's going to hamper him as far as throwing the ball. I mean, we'll see, but I'm not that concerned about it right now, unless this turns out to be a Drew Brees thing where they say, oh, he injured one rib. Oh no, it's 3 ribs on one side. Oh no, it's 10 ribs. Oh, he punctured his lung. Oh, he lacerated his kidney and now he's out for 10 weeks. So we got to wait and see how it evolves. But if this is all it is, and I'm using all it is in quotation marks, then I think he's still going to be able to play through it and play well.
All right. And I guess the last big player is Michael Pittman. So this was something that we kind of got news of Saturday that he was going to be out for the Colts with a quad injury. So, Doc, what do we know about Michael Pittman?
Yeah, so he got injured in practice on Wednesday, and it looks like he never really got in to do any practices, ended up missing week 2. I don't really know what's going on here, but I definitely have some concern that this could be something that lingers, not too dissimilar to a hamstring injury, where it could be a couple of weeks or, maybe even more, but there is the risk of re-injury the sooner he comes back. So certainly not good for Indianapolis and not good for him. So it's just something that we're going to have to monitor and watch the practice reports. If it's a grade 1 injury, then, 0 to 2 more weeks. Grade 2 injury, could be a month or more. I don't think that's what it is, but that's what we're kind of dealing with. And we know we already missed this week. So we just have to wait and see, like, does he practice at all? Do we get more information as far as the severity of the injury and kind of go from there? I wanted to ask you guys this because this seemed like it was going to be Paris Campbell's coming out party. And if it was, he overslept because it just did not happen. I mean, I was with you. I was like, this is it. This is going to be his one spike week. So everybody that took him in like the 16th round of their best ball drafts is going to get their spike week from him. Will probably get hurt and we'll never hear from him again. And it just didn't happen. Like, not only did he not play well, but he didn't get hurt. So it was like, it went the exact opposite of how I thought it was going to go. Alec Pierce missed week 2 with a concussion. So we have to see what happens with him. And then the guy that ended up coming in and making his presence felt was the guy that Dan picked up in our Dynasty League. Discord Dan mining for gold on the waiver wire with Ashton Doolin.
Let me tell you
5
something.
catches on 7 targets for 79 yards in a game where Matt Ryan only threw for like 150 more yards than we all did combined. So you tell me, Dan, what crystal ball were you using? And can I get one?
Let me tell you something. I'm in another league where my 2 best receivers were Greg Dortch and Ashton Doolin. It's terrifying. It's the worst looking roster you've ever seen in your life, and I left those 2 on the bench. I'm like, it's so bad. I don't mind Doolin. I think he kind of has a bit of. This is going to get misconstrued, but he has that big playability like T.Y. Hilton did. He just doesn't play because T.Y. Hilton was there. That's what's probably in your way, is that T.Y. Hilton's freaking fantastic, and you're not going to play because of it. I like Doolin. They got some good tertiary receivers. I mean, I never minded Michael Strachan. I never minded Paris Campbell. Their tight ends have always been a rotation of whether it was Doyle with Mo Alley Cox and now Granson. And who's the other rookie they picked up this year? Jelani Woods. They got pieces. It's just, I've said it once, said it twice. How many more quarterbacks is Frank Reich going to fire before he loses his job? He's gone through 4 in 4 years. This is getting ridiculous. It's bad. Right? So I don't mind Doolin. I think he's a good spot start. He's a great play for DFS if you're going to look at him next week because his price is going to go up now. And let's check there. Who have they got? They got Kansas. So they're going to have to throw to keep up. So I don't mind Doolin in a spot start as a flex play in your DFS lineup. So I don't think that's a bad play. Waiver wire, why not? Because you got to keep up with Kansas. You have to throw it. Matt Ryan's going to have to do something other than get sacked. So not the worst play, but, again, you got to take. I think we've seen last year. I think Kenny Westbrook came from nowhere, right? Guys like this come from nowhere. Donovan Peoples-Jones, they come from nowhere. These receivers, they don't have to be named players to have a good 3, 4, 5 week streak. Hunter Renfrow is
the opportunities when they present themselves.
Hunter Renfrow is the perfect example of a wide receiver that can get hot and be a top 20 receiver. Cole Beasley, another one out of nowhere, top 20 receiver. You never draft these guys. They're there and they're available every week. Doolin might go for another 4 or 5 week run while Pittman might not be with optimal health. If Matt, you know what he's like? He goes to that one guy and he just pummels them with targets. When it wasn't Julio, it was Calvin Ridley, right? That's what he does. When it wasn't
Austin Hooper that one year.
Right. If it's not Calvin Ridley last year, it was Russell Gage. Like, he will go to the same person we saw at week 1 with Pittman. He will repetitively go to that first guy he sees every single time. It just happened to be Ashton Doolin had the good week, and that could be him for a few weeks. Yeah,
it sure could. All right, so let's do the lightning round for the rest of the injuries, and let's get to the picks for the second Monday night game. So finishing off at running back, so we had Alvin Kamara. We talked about him a little bit. Rib injury, missed 2 practices at the end of the week. Unsurprisingly declared out. This could linger for a few more weeks, even with treatment. For what it's worth, Darrell Henderson had a similar injury last year and returned after 1 week, so there is still some hope that he could be back this week coming up. Damien Harris showed up with a knee injury. I believe his exact quote after the game was, "I'm fine, dog." So we can take him at his word for now. It's good enough for me. We can take him at his word for now, but let's watch the practice reports and make sure that the Patriots aren't doing Patriot things. Ramondre Stevenson is a must-own regardless of league format. So do your due diligence and make sure nobody in your league dropped him after week 1, especially in your shallower leagues. Let's see. Moving on. Keenan Allen, hamstring. We talked about him. Wandale and Kadarius Toney. So Kadarius Toney, I know we're going to get Dan off on a rant. Kadarius Toney, hamstring. He played, but he was invisible. Definitely curious as to Dan's thoughts. We'll come back to it. Wandale Robinson for the Giants as well. Didn't practice all week. Missed week 2 with a knee injury. They're not really saying what it is other than a knee injury. So kind of all these things are on the table. Grade 1 ligament injury, some sort of bone bruise, inflammation, cartilage injury. It could be any or some or all of the above or any of those things. So we just got to watch the practice reports on him. Dalton Schultz, we forgot about. Back to the Cowboys. Avoided a long-term injury, so they said. So not an ACL. Turns out it's a PCL. So here's the problem. PCL injury with Zach Wilson last year. He missed about a month. PCL injury with Zeke Elliott. He played through the whole year, but definitely was hampered by it. So what are we going to do with this? I don't know. We're just going to have to watch. The guy to keep an eye out for is Jake Ferguson. Even as the number 2 tight end behind Dalton Schultz, Blake Jarman was averaging over 35 snaps per game on offense before he went out for the year. So Jake Ferguson could actually be somebody if you're given the opportunity. George Kittle, we talked about. Tyler Kroft just piling on the San Francisco 49ers tight ends. MCL sprain, probably out for multiple weeks. So this potentially could elevate Ross Dwelly to the number 1 tight end spot. So for those of you that are not enticed by all the stud names that we named earlier in the show, add Ross Dwelly to the list of late tight end dart throws. They could end up getting you some production and scene.
Wow. We got there.
We got there.
You got there better than Tony gets to the starting lineup.
So I think we got time for the picks. So
that was awesome.
That one's on the house.
I just want to say that the score is only 14, and they're almost at half. So
only 14?
Under, yeah.
So Bills 14-0.
No, 7-7.
7-all. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right there. Henry's touchdown. Okay.
Lower.
Yeah. The lower. That's for sure.
Got to go lower.
And lower, higher. Where's all this come from? It comes from Underdog, and we have a sponsor with Underdog, and we have a good promo code with them. GF2 going for 2. So GF, the number 2. So just 3 digits. Easy to say, easy to type in. Way easier than it is to say, apparently. And if you use the promo code GF2, you get 100% matching on your initial deposit to Underdog, up to $100. So you put in $100 with the promo code, they'll give you an extra $100, and you'll have $200 to play with in your account. And you can go and make picks like we're about to do. We already talked about the Titans Bills picks we made, but we also have another game tonight. There's the second Monday night game, Vikings and Eagles. So real quick, it's a over under or a high or Underdog prediction of 50 points. And the Eagles are favored by 2.5 at home. So any quick thoughts to this?
Gladys.
Over, and I'm taking Minnesota.
Yes, I love it.
Yes, Gladys. Go for it.
Well,
whatever.
Since you snaked us on the Diggs prop, I'm actually going Philly and under.
Ooh.
I was doing that.
Wait. So
it's the exact opposite. Of what you just said.
So Gladys at Vikes and over for Gladys.
Yep.
Doc said Eagles and under.
Jake Elliott at the whistle. 27. 24. Superstar.
What you gonna call?
Oh no, that would be the over.
So looking at the line, it's interesting because, like, again, Dan, you pointed out in the show sheet that it initially started at 50. as a prediction now, or 51. Sorry, now it's lowered to 50. I saw on TSN they had they had it at like 48 and a half.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So I think I kind of like going lower than the 50, just seeing that in some other spots it is lower than that. I mean, I know Gladys, you mentioned that last week. Was it on Javonte Williams, right? You wanted to take, on Underdog where their prediction was around 60 yards, whereas on other sites their prediction was around 80 yards for the rushing.
Right.
So you take advantage when you see it. And this is maybe not that extreme. We're talking about 1.5 points, but enough that makes me want to go lower on this game. So yeah, I'm taking the lower. I'm taking the Vikings because I think the Vikings are the better team than the Eagles, and if I think the better team is underdog and not favorite, I usually just go with them, thinking that even on the road, I think the Vikings will win this game, but certainly cover the 2.5 point spread. It's not that big anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, for me, I was thinking about over. I like the unders here, but now I'm starting to think about Kirk Cousins in prime time, and I'm starting to think maybe the doc could be onto something. I have the Vikings plus 2.5. You can't have a team that. I like what Philly, again, Bradbury, Maddox. They have, they picked up Kaiser White. Epps looks good. They have a really good team. I just how do you stop Justin Jefferson? That for me is like, he's a game changer. There's 2 or 3 game changers in the league that aren't quarterbacks, right? It's Taylor, it's Cup. Jefferson's in that ilk for me. So for me, I'm going to take the Vikings plus 2.5 and under. I'm with Kyle. And the future NFC North champions.
Did you say higher or lower?
Lower.
Okay, you are going lower.
All
right.
Lower.
So it's funny. Just like the first game of the Bills Titans, we all said lower, except Gladys said higher, right?
Gladys went higher. Yeah, both times.
And so yeah, that's funny how that works out. And we'll see.
take
At least this time, someone
me
actually did pick the Eagles.
higher.
What? I'm sorry. I was wallowing in Doc's melodic tones.
I would just say, Gladys, you went higher for both games, right?
Yeah. No. Did I go higher for the first one?
Sure did.
That's what I had
Bills
marked
and
down
higher.
unless I did it wrong.
I thought it was the opposite. I thought I went lower for the first one. And you guys went higher.
Who's
No, we
keeping
all
track
went
of this?
lower.
So I know who to bribe at the end of the year, so I finish first.
There we go.
Wait, what now? Okay.
Based
Yeah.
Which one?
Whatever.
One of these guys is keeping track. It's not me.
It's not me.
Yeah.
It's a Kyle job.
I am. I have a spreadsheet here. I put it.
So did Gladys go higher or
That's
lower
why I
for
was
the first
confirming.
game?
What are we looking at with those underdog props? We've got about 12
Well,
minutes. We got to keep
I was
going.
going to say, before we get to that, we also have another sponsorship with No House Advantage, and kind of like as we get to these props and these pick'ems, that they do that as well. So talk about Underdog, but also No House Advantage has pick'em style contests. You can use the GF2 promo code. That's capital G, capital F, the number 2, 3 digits, GF2, and you get a deposit match this time up to $20. So nohouseadvantage.com for all of that. But yeah, we're going to use some Underdog Underdog props for specific players. So anyone want to go first for this Vikings Eagles game?
No,
Right. All right. I
Yes,
want to
Gladys.
know Jalen Hurts 8.5 rushing attempts higher.
Ooh, I like it.
Thank you. I've gone higher in everything, haven't I, today? What?
They've moved
Well,
up to
except Diggs
no, wait. They've moved up to 9.
No. I have 8.5.
Yeah,
I
when
was
I sent this over, I'll give it to you because when I sent
Yeah,
this
Gladys
to
had
you,
it
was
locked in.
8.5.
She had it
Yeah,
locked
I'll
in
give it to you.
at
I'll give it
8.5.
to you.
What? Higher, 8.5. Jackie agrees with me.
All right. It's funny because I'm also going with the quarterback, not rushing attempts, rushing yards here. Kirk Cousins at 4.5 rushing yards. And this is, again, I look like just one play. I guess they're not playing the Bills. Sorry. Against the Eagles, it's tough D-line. I think at some point he might have to just escape the pocket and gain yards, get a first down somewhere. So 5 yards, I think, is a really easy ask for him to run and do. As soon as I saw this, I ran up because I wanted this one first. I didn't want anyone else to steal it. It was thinking like Dan, right? Like he took the low number last week with Will Dissly. And I guess looking back to last week's numbers, Gladys, you and I need some redemption because we both went 0 for 3 last week on picking the game. We both picked Denver.
Possible.
We both picked higher. And then Cortland Sutton got 4 catches, not 5. So I missed on that one. And then Javonte Williams just missed the 60 yards. He had like 50-something rushing yards. So you missed on that.
Hey, how did I
kudos
do?
to Doc who did go 3-0. So good
You
job.
knew.
Doc.
Did
I
I?
did.
I didn't even know. I'm just kidding. It took every ounce of restraint not to text you guys like 2 seconds after the game was over. But I look forward to making that up in the opposite direction this week. But what I do want to say is before I make my pick, we're 80 minutes into this stream right now. If you're still here, then you are the real GOAT. So make sure that you like the stream, subscribe, going for two, get in the Discord. Lots of really smart people in there. Lots of people that just want to have a good time, talk fantasy football, help you keep that ship pointed towards Titletown. So that's what we're here for. That's what we're here to do. And with that, my pick is I'm sticking with the quarterbacks as well. Kirk Cousins, 0.5 interceptions. Hoya. Going Hoya. Not liking Kirk Cousins' chances against the old Philly the Eagles defense there. So going Hoya.
He ran from Australian Discord Dan to Mayor Quinby from Springfield suddenly.
No, it comes in and out. I'm still working on it. I'm still workshopping it, but I feel like it's like 80-90% there. We're getting there.
Yeah, it's there. It's there. I like
You're
it.
the town mayor and the
there.
town doctor, so doing double duty.
Glad it says it's there.
All right, Dan. What do you got? So again, Will Dissly last week, you nailed it. You went 2-1.
That was
last
amazing,
week.
by the
You
way.
picked,
Like,
you
first
picked
play of the
Denver.
game.
That was the
Gladys like left us for dead, and then we turn over. The first play was Dissly 30-yard touchdown. I was like, all right,
It's like
11 and a half
done.
yards. All right.
Done.
Again, if this one's a tight one, I kind of feel like Dalvin Cook could be at play here. I don't hate 17 and a half rush attempts for Dalvin Cook. If this is going under, he's going to get the play. So for me,
Noah.
I'm going to take Dalvin Cook over higher than 17 and a half rush attempts.
Yeesh.
I feel like if this is a game, and believe me, I've gone, it's just A plus B, right? I'm going Vikings plus 2.5 and under. So I have to believe that they're controlling the game. To do that, you need Cook to be at his best. So this could be like a high volume Dalvin Cook game. 17.5 rush attempts. Let's lock that one in.
Okay.
At least we got some. Most of our picks were involving the Vikings. At least we had some Eagles representation, but not a single person picked a Titans prop or picked the Titans. So that's
I mean, Kyle Phillips. We went him head to head with Diggs.
I thought-
Yeah, they tried to sell
the
me on.
combo.
You guys tried to sell me on that Kyle Phillips chicanery. I wanted nothing
I
to do
thought
with it.
didn't Dan pick Derrick Henry for
well.
touchdowns or
Sorry, he
something?
did go single. Well, he went
I
Singletary.
went Singletary
over,
versus
Singletary with what is it? 43 and a half.
43 and a
rushing
half.
yards.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going. I don't want to look because that could be. It's just I kind of feel like this was going to go in that direction as well, under a bit. So those under games, you tend to lean on the running backs, in my opinion, a bit more.
So
Probably.
Singletary has to have 43 and a half more rushing yards than Derrick Henry?
No.
Yeah, he has a 43 and a half yard head start.
So if Derrick Henry gets more than 44 yards
Over.
like above Singletary, then Dan doesn't win. So if
Derrick Henry has 12 rushing yards right now.
So
12.
Singletary has to be within 43 yards of
What's Singletary at
and
the
then-
moment?
And then
21.
So Singletary's now up about 50 odd yards.
Yeah.
See what I mean? Like, and look, you know what Derrick Henry can do? He can just. It's terrifying to go against Derrick Henry, but again, having to have to watch him against the Giants the other week and what they did to him. It's just
He's averaging 1.5 yards per carry right now.
That's it. All he needs is
Great.
that one
Great.
that one run. We look at Barkley against the Titans, that same game, 168 yards, 100 of them came off 2 carries. He then went 17 for 68, which isn't very
It ain't
good.
happening, baby. It ain't happening.
So I'm gonna lean on the Singletary and under things. So I'm gonna go Dalvin Cook 17.5. Let's see how that goes.
So again, there's 6 chances this week to so like the standings will definitely change quite a lot. Potentially, unless Doc gets them all
Or
right and he's
not,
still at the top of the
exactly.
standings. So that maybe won't change
We'll
that much.
see, we'll
But
see.
we'll see. I mean, of course, you could pick alongside us. You can see if you can do better than Doc. You probably should certainly be able to do better than me. So we'll see.
Is Gator
Doc.
picking against me? Is that why he
Doc.
asked about the 72 and a half?
Doc, the one that doesn't want to pick a bet, goes
whatever.
3-0.
I don't know if I'll
Whatever.
do as good as you guys. And yeah, we all
Whatever,
been there.
Doc.
Oh, listen, the
Whatever, Doc.
Stopped clock is right twice a day. Remember that.
That's twice you made that reference.
There you go.
Oh, right.
in like less than an hour too. So, but
80 minutes.
yeah,
Alright.
Stock mentioned earlier. I mean, this
The
is
other
we're now an hour-
other analogy that I've heard is the sun even shines on a dog's ass occasionally. So that's the other one. But I want to keep it PG for all the folks watching with their kids.
Yeah, I don't understand that one.
No, don't think about it too hard.
It's too late. I already have.
At some point, your dog's gonna run outside and face the sun. That's what it means.
My dog always faces the sun.
And it shines on his ass properly.
Occasionally.
Exactly.
There's eventually the angle will the sun will be at the perfect angle for it to hit the.
What if I said the sun shines on Kyle Phillips occasionally? Does that help you at all?
Yeah, that helps more.
Yeah,
There you
We're
go.
hoping not tonight though.
he had one play and he just got belted by 3 Bills guys. I was watching before. I was like, oh no.
I don't want to slander Kyle Phillips. I actually really liked him coming out. Like he was kind of flying under the radar. And
I have him in our FPC league. I got him in our FPC league. I don't mind him. He's all right.
Wait, I thought I had him in the FBC league.
I've got him in every other league, I think. There was one league I didn't have him in.
Yeah, I think
Then
that one.
Kyle.
Uh-huh.
All right, I
Yeah,
got
those extra
something
fourth-round picks.
for Kyle gets us out of here. So far, early returns. We're not even at the quarter pole yet. We're at the 1/8 pole. But what's the thing that you called that you're most proud of? Either you said this guy was going to be good or this guy was going to be bad or whatever. Like what's your best call?
Tua. My best call is Tua.
Tua. Okay, I like that.
Although I said him less this week, but I had Patrick Mahomes.
I guess. Well, it's too early to say because Dallas Goddard only had 4 targets through 1 week. I know that was someone I was really betting against.
Okay.
But still, on 3 catches, he had 60 yards. So maybe I don't know. That's a little too early to say if that's an L or a win or a loss. I mean, I had one share of Kyle Pitts in 23 leagues, and it was like the last draft I did. It's like, I'll just take him here just to get one. But I kind of, I still thought it was a little too early, for him to be producing as a difference maker yet. So I maybe say Kyle Pitts so far. I regret that one league I took him. I should have just stuck with the convictions and not had him anywhere. But yeah.
Dan, anything?
Giants 2-0. He predicted it.
You did?
It's not about the Giants go 2-0. These teams are going to get Daniel Jones an extension, and that's the last thing I need. I was fairly a lot of the work that I do in the off season's best ball dominant. A lot of people go dynasty. That a lot of people will swing dynasty ways, and I'm not the biggest dynasty person. I play dynasty. I'm in a few leagues, but I don't pretend to believe that I know more than the next person about anything in life, let alone dynasty football. But I am very much a best ball person between the months of March and August, and I always lean on those late round tight ends that pop off, and they've all not let me down. They've all done the opposite. They've actually all stood their ground quite well. So guys like Hayden Hurst, I was getting him in the 18th round.
Nice.
You want to go to the Bengals? He's going to do it for you. Tyler Conklin.
Nice.
If I couldn't get Hurst because he went to the Bengals and people started switching on with him, I go to Conklin, 18th round. Gerald Everett goes to the Chargers. Go get him. David Njoku. Okay, fine. Like all these late round tight ends. I have a piece or two of Dan Bellinger from the Giants because God knows Kenny Golladay ain't going to do a sweet effing thing. Dan Bellinger scores a touchdown. Again, all you need is a touchdown to be relevant as a tight end, and you can go to those 14th round back and go 4 tight ends and just go bang, 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 and hope for your life. The ones that I kind of got on, the Everetts, the Hursts, the Conklins, they're all starting to do quite well, and I'm really, really pleased. Like Conklin, I think I have everywhere because what he did in Minnesota last year was fantastic, I thought, especially without Irv Smith. I'm surprised they let him test free agents because he really, really did well. Hurst has been behind Kyle Pitts and Mark Andrews. All right, he's in a team with Chase and Higgins. He's the only tight end on that roster now that can do something. He's starting to get some looks. So guys like that, Everett, no Keenan Allen, Everett looks good, scores touchdowns. Those late round tight ends, I'm very, very happy with how that's panned out this year. At the moment, it's only 2 weeks in, right? But the way I feel at the moment.
Yeah, but that's the point. So we might have to give you a new name. We might have to stop calling you Discord Dan and start calling you late tight end Dan. For me, it's going to be Curtis. It's going to be Curtis Samuel. Best ball. Any kind of redraft leagues, I was picking him up 16th, 17th, 18th round, whatever.
Incredible.
And
Logan Thomas was another one.
Dreaming on the wide receiver 2 upside that he had a couple of years ago before he got hurt, and early returns on that looking very nice. So I'm really proud of that one. Kyle, take us home.
Well, sorry, did Gladys get the answer?
Yeah.
Didn't she?
Yeah.
Didn't you go first?
I did.
Oh, right.
Way to go, Kyle. Thanks for listening. Whatever.
Well, I just want to hear you so much that I wanted to hear you again.
It was Tua. She was all aboard the Tua train.
Oh, right. Yes, of course. Yeah. Yeah, Tua. But you didn't start him last week.
Wow.
Sorry. I started him in Scott Fishbowl. So, well, here's the thing. I started him in Scott Fishbowl and still lost. So,
thank God for the median, right?
I did that with Lamar Jackson this week.
Well, it's funny because I played Lamar Jackson. That's why.
Oh my God! I had Lamar. I lost. I was like, oh, this isn't good.
That's rough.
Actually, I'm in the Speak On It Dynasty League, and without having Dak, I had Tua as the backup, and pretty sure I'm gonna lose in that league too, even with Tua. So yeah, two leagues I started Tua, and I'm gonna lose both. So that's fun.
That's rough.
That's wild.
Yeah, you started. Yeah, that's right. I started him against Gator, and Gator destroyed me. Put up 200 points in a single quarterback league. This is even super flex. It was crazy. Good job, Gator. Well done. I'm 0-2 in that league now. So
way to go, Gator.
Wild.
Yeah, I'll say let's get us out of here. So again, the promo code's GF2. You can use it on Underdog or on No House Advantage, and you get deposit matches on both those websites. So feel free to make picks there. As always, we're on the Going for Two live YouTube channel, and we're on Twitch, Facebook as well. So you can subscribe to all those places. And of course, Discord. You got Discord Dan. You've got an injury channel with Doc. There's a bunch of great free Going for Two channels there. And of course, if you like, again, I want to hear what Gladys has to say every week. So if you feel the same way, come back every week. Every Monday we'll be here at 7 p.m. Eastern for the Monday night conversion. Next week is I have the schedule up. I don't have
Giants and Cowboys. Let's go.
Oh right, yeah, Dan. Yes.
Fun.
Oh boy, yeah. I don't want to miss that. Dan's got some.
Get an hour of Dan talking about how bad Kenny Golladay is at life.
That is going to be must see.
We don't even need the injuries or anything else.
Must see podcast.
He doesn't have a locker no more. How'd you go? Go on.
Actually, you know what I want to say? I don't know if this is Dan being restrained because he just wants to direct all this hatred towards the Cowboys next week. With a Philadelphia game, an Eagles game, and I know there were 2 Monday night games that confused it. He didn't mention Philafraudula once. I don't know if I'm proud of you or disappointed.
Philadelphia. I thought we crowdsourced it and we said it was Philadelphia.
It's hard.
I like Philadelphia, but I know Dan seems to always use Philafraudula, so I went that one for him.
Well, he can use whichever one he likes.
I once it's a true story. It's a true story. I once asked a girl from Philadelphia if I could take her home, and she got mad at me when I started kicking a cardboard box down the street. It's just one of those. It's just one of those.
Bye.
Philadelphia! Get amongst it. No.
I do not co-sign that Philly slander. Yeah, that's right. Gladys is out. I'm going to follow suit. Gentlemen, it's been real. Dan, it's been nice knowing you. Everybody, DM me for Dan's home address. See you later, boys.
And then number 2, see you, Doc. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter. Gladys is at Gladys L. Tyler. Doc's at TFS Doc. That's the Fantasy Sports Doc. Dan's at the B-League Says. I'm at Senner Says. And I say, we'll see you next time on the Monday Night Conversion. Bye for now. Doc.